Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Banner Buzz, our weekly news podcast. I'm Keith Domke. I'm the managing editor of the Banner Press, and I am thrilled and excited today to welcome my guest, Precinct 1 County Commissioner Misty Corn. Misty, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy you guys always are, making the all-important decisions that make our county the great county it is. So thank you for taking the time. I appreciate you being here.
I'm glad to be here.
So I always like to start these visits, our podcast visits, with asking the same question. Tell us a little bit about you, your personal, professional background, and all that as we get going.
Well, I am a native of Washington County. So grew up here, love this place. I left for 10 years. I was gone for 10 years. Went to Texas A&M, met my husband. We started a business in College Station, stayed there. Okay. But when my oldest son was in kindergarten, I felt the urge. It was time to get back home. Things were getting too big there. And so we came back and been here ever since. I have been in the education field for 15 years at Blinn and at Texas A&M, working in teacher education. So quite a different field for me.
Sure.
But a lot of it is the same. Taxpayer money. Mm-hmm. In teacher education, I was the liaison between A&M and the state with the compliance issues. So a lot of it is the same. So working between the state of Texas and their compliance issues and making sure that A&M followed in. So right now, with the legislature being in session, doing a lot of that same stuff for the county, looking at the legislative issues that affect the counties and the unfunded mandates that we all love so much.
Sure.
And how they affect that. So for me, it was a big jump. And but professionally, this has been a really rewarding change.
Good.
So that's been great. Personally, I live in Old Washington, just a mile down the road from where I grew up. I am on family land that has been in my family for almost 100 years.
Oh, wow.
So that is very rewarding to me. And so I have a deep, deep connection to this community and the people here. And I have two sons, both are married, and they live here as well.
Oh, good.
So the future of this county means a lot to me, not just for my friends and neighbors, but my family as well.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And before we move on, can I ask you, what specifically did you do with Blinn?
I was in the teacher education field there as well. Blinn used to have a program called the Blinn Teach program. It was I really can't be certain as to how long the program existed, but it was a development during the years of the downfall of the economy. The state allowed junior colleges to create an alternative teacher program. So as the economy kind of started to crater, there were a lot of very qualified professionals who there was a need to enter the education field because there was a shortage of teachers. And so community colleges, junior colleges alike, were training folks that had degrees in professions to enter into the teaching field. And so it was a very heavily mandated field. And I worked with the amazing staff of teachers and educators there and did all the compliance issues for the program. And from there, I went to A&M and did the same thing.
Wow, that sounds like an impressive background and a busy background.
It was a lot of work, but it was so rewarding.
Sure.
So rewarding.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine. So, well, good. So then let me lead into this question. What led you to want to become a Washington County Commissioner?
It's one of those things that I'm not sure it was any one thing that led me to want to do it. I've always thought that at some point in time I wanted to serve my community. Service has always been a big deal to me, and I missed that when I was working in College Station. I missed being a part and being active in my community, and I got really involved and really invested in the school board election prior to deciding that I wanted to run.
Okay.
And I watched and listened and saw the commitment and the level of people investing their time and seeing the impact and the need for people to step up. And I think one of the things that really touched me was I was watching and listening to the different folks saying, you know, we need people to step up and do things. And I thought, you know, I keep saying one day I'm going to do this. Well, one day, when is one day?
Right.
And our community, and what I was realizing was our community has been riding on the coattails of so many wonderful leaders that served us some 40, 50 years ago. And we have been so blessed, but we're changing and we're growing. And if somebody doesn't step up and start again and become a leader to set us up for the next 40, 50 years, where are we going to be?
Right.
And so I finally decided I'm at a point in my life where I can't keep saying someday, and it's got to be now. And my generation owes a lot to the folks who put us in this wonderful position. And it was time. And, you know, that old adage, if not me, then who?
Right. Sure.
And so I did a lot of thinking. I did a lot of praying. I kind of talked about it to my husband. And then one day in that long, miserable commute on University Drive, leaving campus, I got home, I walked in the door, and I told my husband, I said, I'm going to run for county commissioner. And he goes, yeah, okay. And I said, no, like now. And so it was kind of a moment where I feel like, you know, God just put it in front of me, and I said, okay, sure. I hear you loud and clear. And so I think it was just kind of the timing was right, and the realization just set in that it needed to happen.
Well, it's always good to listen to God. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
And you know, you're off to such a good start. So, you know, appreciate you stepping up and deciding the time was now and everything. So kudos to you for that.
Well, thank you.
So as a county commissioner, then what do you see as your main responsibilities?
Well, the statute tells us our main responsibility is setting the budget for the department and providing for the health and safety of the county. And one of the things that I was very disillusioned by as a candidate was that there was a lot we can do, and that is not true. The list of things that counties can do is about this big. The list of things we cannot do is about this big. So we are very limited as to what we are allowed to do. We are not a municipality. Right. We do not have the same leeway as a municipality does. So what we do have is some lateral ground to work within the statutes. So counties have to be pretty creative. And I've quickly come to realize that. And after the March primary, by not having an opponent in the general election, the commissioners were very generous with their time, and they taught me a lot.
Sure.
And they allowed me to sit in and listen to the budget last summer. And I learned so much. And I think that's where I got a very quick crash course on what you can and cannot do.
Sure.
And so I think our number one priority is taking the funding that we do get and making sure that we're using it appropriately. So, of all the things that we are allowed to do, that little bit, but yet a lot, we have to make sure we're doing the most we can with the little bit we have.
Sure. And I think people don't realize, that you are limited. People think, well, they're our county government. They can do anything they want, but, you hit the nail on the head. You really are, I don't know if hamstrung's the right word, but, there is a limited focus that you have.
Right.
And I think you said it very well, to what you can do to do that to the best of your ability for the benefit of those of us who live here is got to be high on the priority list. So,
right.
There almost needs to be a seminar or something, where we could educate people more about what you guys really can and can't do. I mean, if you go to the meetings, of course, then you learn about all that. But I mean, just the general public,
right.
Really has no idea.
Right.
They just kind of take you for granted or whatever we want to say. So kudos, all of you, Judge Sternberger and the four of you, I think you do just an awesome job in this county. And I'm grateful to have all of you here to do what's best for us. So thank you.
Well, it's definitely an eye-opening experience. I mean, I talked to someone who was at the Republican Club meeting the other night where the sheriff presented, and he mentioned the cost of the indigent care while folks are incarcerated. And they said, oh my gosh, it's close to $1 million for the health care of the people who are incarcerated. And this person's telling me this, and I said, yes. And do you realize that the county pays for that year after year after year?
Yeah.
And that this is only going to increase. And this person was just floored, had no idea. And most people don't. And then they, in the same breath, said, but the state just gave us an exemption on our homestead up to $140,000. And I said, yes. And guess what? That's less money that comes to your county government. So the state just gave you more money in your pocket and put less money in the coffers of your county. And yet that $1 million or close to $1 million that we spend at the jail is not going to get any cheaper.
Right, of course.
So do you realize the difficult situation that your county government is in? Now, I want a tax break too.
Sure.
We all do.
Sure.
But these unfunded mandates that are handed down by the state legislature aren't getting any cheaper.
Right.
And you're asking your county government to continue to fund this, but yet everybody wants a better road.
Well, yeah, that's a great point. And not only that, with the mandates and things getting more expensive, you don't always get any money, let alone maybe a little bit of money to fund these mandates. So you've got to be even extra creative. Like you said, you got roads to worry about. You have salaries to worry about. And yet you have all these other, the pot is big.
Right.
And you have to figure out, do we spend it here or split it or what? And that's not an easy job.
No.
It's very difficult. So
right. It's a tough thing.
Sure it is. And so again, I commend you and all the commissioners and Judge Sternberger, because I just can't imagine. I've been covering meetings like this for decades, but even though I've done that, I'm still a little bit on the inside out looking in, but it's people just don't realize how tough of a job you have.
Yeah.
But how well you do it too. So That kind of leads me into my next question. You took office officially on January 1st. I know you said last year you kind of dove in and kind of had on-the-spot training, even though you weren't officially commissioner. So how have these first 6 or so weeks gone for you?
They've been very, very busy, very interesting. Like I said, the sitting commissioners were wonderful, but there was so much that I couldn't know and couldn't be a part of. And stepping in, it was kind of like, okay, here we go, rookie. We couldn't tell you all of it, but now we're going to flood you with all this information. And then it was like, these light bulbs are going, oh, wow. I had no idea the backstory or I didn't get the full picture. So a lot of it has been, for me, a lot of reading, a lot of, phone calls and meetings saying, please explain this to me, give me the whole story, give me the whole picture. And it has been very enlightening to learn and understand the history of why things are happening, how they happen, and just getting the full grasp of it. But I think the most rewarding thing has been meeting the staff and the folks that have worked on this stuff, some of them for years and years and years.
Right.
And the human capital that we have is unbelievable. And the institutional knowledge is just incredible. And these folks that have been around, and they can say, oh, well, we did that 15 years ago and it didn't work. Or let me tell you how this got started. And it was way back, and they're just amazing. And I appreciate all of that so much. So that's been the biggest blessing, is getting to know the folks.
Sure.
And getting to understand the history of how and why we're in the situation we are, be it good or bad.
Sure.
How we got there.
Right. Well, and like you just said, you've spent a lot of time educating yourself, through reading and meetings and talking to other people and so forth. And that's got to be a key thing. I mean, we're always learning. I've said time and time again, I've been in the newspaper business for 42 years. And the day that I stop learning is the day I need to retire.
Right.
But, you have a great group of people, not only, like you said, with your fellow commissioners and Judge Dernberger, but the department heads and
absolutely,
and the other employees, the hundreds of employees that you employ, and that's got to be such a key part of all this. And let me just focus on you 5 that make up Commissioners Court. You have to rely on each other. You have to learn from each other. You have to accept each other. You have to agree to disagree sometimes. And that's critically important. You couldn't do your jobs without leaning on each other and having others lean on you and so forth. And that has to be pretty strong part of your learning process, to know you have those companions, so to speak, who are doing the same thing you're doing.
It is. And I don't think you put yourself in a position to be an elected official unless you've got pretty thick skin and a pretty strong personality. And I will say that everybody on that court has a pretty strong personality. And every one of them is smart, but every single one of them has something that they are above and beyond. They all have their specialty, I would say. So as far as I can see, what I have found so far. So I know to go to one of them based on whatever my question is. And we don't see things the same way. We may get to the same conclusion,
right,
but we don't get there the same way.
Right.
We're taking a different path. And we've already had some split votes this month. And it has not changed our working relationship. It has not changed the openness and the communication between us. And one thing that I can say is the four of us, we're all athletes, and we all come from a team background. So I think that brings a lot of understanding of teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're really working as a team right now.
Well, and like you said, that's what makes it work, is you all have your different strengths. You all have your personalities, and it's how all that gets mixed into the bowl that makes everything work. And you have to agree to disagree sometimes. I mean, if you guys always agreed on everything all the time, there'd be something wrong.
Right.
So, that's really a credit to all of you, that you figured that out, and that like I said before, you rely on each other, you count on each other, you work with each other, and all that. I mean, I know Commissioner Bullock and Commissioner Hanneth and Judge Dernberger pretty well, and I'm getting to know you and so forth. So, it's a great team, and again, kudos. So, and looking forward a little bit now, with this being your first year in office, what do you think is going to be your most difficult challenge moving forward? Is it going to be the budget? Is it going to be figuring out how everything's going to work? I mean, what do you think, looking into your crystal ball here for the last 10 months of the year, plus a little change, what do you think is going to be the most difficult for you, or maybe difficult's not the right word, but the most challenging?
Well, I'm really excited about this, and I think it's going to be a challenge, and it might even be difficult. The judge has assigned me to the strategic planning committee.
Okay.
And we are looking at putting together a 5-year strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
And Commissioner Hanneth and I are on this committee together,
mm-hmm.
but the entire court is working on it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And our goal is to feel out our community, all different aspects of the community. And we're really just getting the foundation laid right now, but we really want to hustle this up, because, you could take 5 years to make a plan, but we want it to be, we really want to move, because we're growing quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Our needs are changing quickly. And
mm-hmm.
as we already talked about, our funding is limited.
Right.
But what do we need? And what do our constituents want? Where do they feel like the growth is going to help us or hurt us? And are we concerned about things like safety? Are we concerned about
right.
Are we concerned about our economy? Are we concerned about where can we help? What is it that you need us to do? And can we do it?
Right.
I mean, is it even feasible for us to do it? So
that's the challenge.
I am looking very forward to sitting down with the public and sitting down with groups, the stakeholders within the community, and hearing what they need and what they want, and then, putting the pencil to the paper and saying, okay, can we do this?
Sure.
And how can we help? Because that's what our job is.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to be in the community, listening, helping, and trying to solve the issues that we know are coming.
Well said. Well said. And good luck. I mean,
well, prayers are appreciated.
Of course. So, being from Washington County and spending a lot of your time in Washington County over your lifetime, I know a lot of people around here. I mean, but how then do what do you talk about getting to know the wants and needs of Washington County. And so how, being a commissioner, it's a people person position.
Right.
I mean, it just is. You got to get to know. How do you go about continuing to get to know people and to learn? I mean, do you just get out in the public as much as you can and shake hands? Do you invite them to meeting? I mean, how do you go about, you and maybe the other commissioners, but speaking for yourself, how do you go about doing that?
Well, I'm trying to stay out in the public as much as possible. I try to stop and talk to anybody that wants to talk to me. There's out in Old Washington, I was just riding with the county engineer yesterday looking at roads, and out in Old Washington, there are 3 subdivisions coming in.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's going to be a challenge. But one of the things I want to do is get to know those people that are developing that. Get to know what's going on out there. Who are our, who are they bringing? Who's looking at moving here? What kind of folks are we attracting?
Sure.
For the folks that are already here, I try to be as visible as possible,
Mm-hmm.
answer every call, do as much as I can. And, I think the name of the game is just being accessible, just
Agreed.
being there. And when somebody says, hey, I watch on Facebook when people start complaining about something, I find their name. I'd send them a message. Can we talk? This isn't in my precinct, but I can help put you in touch with who can help you.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be responsive, just so that, I always say, if you don't tell people what you're doing, they're going to make up their own story.
Right.
So I'm trying to let them know what we're doing, or at least point them to somebody who can tell them.
Sure. So we're running out of time. So as we wrap up here, let me just ask you, in these first 6 weeks, and as you learned about the job, and then as you've become a commissioner here at the beginning of the year, what have you enjoyed most about being a county commissioner?
The people.
The people.
It's been so wonderful. And the employees, just meeting them and learning what they do, is, some of them are just incredible. The things the things they do, just very quickly. The folks at the dispatch offices that answer those calls, they're unbelievable. I couldn't do that. Seeing and watching closely with the volunteer firefighters and the EMS folks, those are definitely callings, and
right.
And we're blessed to have folks that have been called to do that. The men and women that work at Road and Bridge, and the folks that are in the courthouse day in and day out, answering and meeting the needs of the people that come in. It's just incredible.
There's a lot of talented people.
There are, for sure.
There sure is. So, well, you've been watching the Banner Buzz podcast. I'm Keith Domke, managing editor of the Banner Press, and I'd like to really thank my guest, Misty Corn. Misty, it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed visiting with you and learning about you and getting some insight on how the county commissioners work together for the benefit of the county, as well as some of your struggles and all that. So continued good luck and success moving forward. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in. We do this for you. This is one of the many things we do to be your number one source of news and information in Washington County, and we don't take that responsibility very lightly. So thank you. We appreciate you tuning in. And before we go, I just want to remind you that if you're a subscriber to the Banner Press, thank you so much. We really appreciate being a part of our family. Again, we do this for you. And we're proud of what we do, and we certainly are happy that you're all part of our family. But if you're not a subscriber, I want to tell you it's very easy to do so. You just pick up the phone, call 979-836-7956. Again, that's 979-836-7956. And our friendly staff will take care of you, get you signed up, and then you can start being better informed of what's going on in Washington County, including what goes on weekly in the Commissioner's Court. Again, one of our very most important entities that we have in this county. And, sign up and subscribe and find out all the good work they're doing. So, again, thank you for tuning in. And a happy Valentine's Day to everybody. That's on Friday. And be safe out there. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.